Hey everybody, I'm Matt Valley. Welcome to episode number 139 of the Rock and Roll Research Podcast, where we share the super cool backstories and side gigs of the research and insights pros that you trust. Well, some people don't know that I do have a day job. And in fact, I work for a company called Mintel, and I have for about the past 6 months or so. I started in January. It's a great job. I'm a lead client partner. It's a global, call it a global account management role. It's a new role at Mintel. There are 4 people at the company who do that role. I'm one of them, and so is today's guest, Chris Hayward, my colleague, Chris Hayward at Mintel. Hey, Chris, how you doing? So
Good to see you.
yeah, it's good to see you. Good to see you too. Now, here's the thing that's a little bit disconcerting, right? So Chris knew I had the Rock and Roll Research Podcast. We met months ago in Chicago. We broke bread, the whole deal. Probably knew I was a drummer even, and he was holding out on me. I had to find out from someone else this great backstory that Chris has that I'm excited for him to tell today. But Chris has been with Mintel about the same amount of time, maybe 5 months or so, something like that. Came most recently from IDG, spent a lot of his career at Kantar World Panel, AC Nielsen before that, maybe a cup of coffee at Millward Brown. All the great companies, right? He's really sharp. He's got this great background. And lo and behold, not only was he in a band in the UK that had its moment, and now they're doing reunion shows called Samurai 7, if you've heard of them, but he's also a drummer and he never told me. So we get to find out about all that on today's podcast and more. So welcome to the show, Chris.
Oh, it's good to be here. Thank you for inviting me. I'm privileged and honored, Matt.
Well, I'm super excited to have you. It's great to stumble upon this information. I don't know why you're holding out on me, but it's okay. It's okay. I'm over it. I'm over it because we've got this forum where we get to dig into it all today. So, I like to start by saying a couple words about Magic Mind. It's a great product, Magic Mind. I want to mention this because this is how I start my day every day. It's a mental performance shot. I get up in the morning, I have it. It gives me this great calm energy that carries me throughout the day, eases my stress level. Of course, it's got the ingredients you might expect, like lion's mane and turmeric and ashwagandha and all kinds of vitamins, matcha. Lots of good stuff in there. My doctor says I need it. It makes me feel great, so I take it every day. If you're interested in trying Magic Mind, I've got a nice discount for you if you want to give it a shot. You just go to magicmind.com/RNRLT. That's like rock and roll, RNRLT. Get yourself a nice discount for a one-time use or an even better discount for a subscription. So if you want to feel good like I do in the morning, give it a shot. Check it out. So, all right, Chris, let's talk insights first, right? We're both working for this great company, Mintel, been around 50 some years, solving all sorts of innovation puzzles and all sorts of good stuff for clients. But of course, you had a job before then, so take me all the way back. How did you first get in insights, and tell me a little bit about the story of your career?
It's a great question, Matt. Thank you. And it all comes back to music. This is the thing, it all ties back. So here's the thing. Um, Late 90s, I realized I needed a proper job. So I left school when I was 16 and I just wanted to be in a band and I didn't really think too deeply about the future. And you kind of
Yeah,
fast forward a bit and you realize actually it's all well and good looking after yourself, but you got to pay the bills and you probably got to grow up a bit. And I didn't know what I wanted to do, but our singer in our band, he was working for Nielsen at the time, and he said, "You know what? I could talk to a couple of people, give me your CV, we'll polish it up. I could get you an interview." So I kind of thought that's great. I didn't know what Nielsen did particularly, but I kind of full of hubris and kind of being keen and punctual and having a nice tie because we all wore ties back in the day. And I turned up to
yeah.
the interview and met these two really lovely people, and and they looked at me and they looked at my CV, and their first question is, "Why are you here?" And I couldn't really answer because I didn't really know, and I just said, "Look, I think I really need a job, and give me a break," kind of thing. And they kind of looked at me, and then one of them realized, because I put on my CV that I played in a band, and they realized they'd actually been to see my band and they
Oh
liked
my
my band.
goodness.
So we spent about 20 minutes doing that. And I guess I said the right things and I got offered a job. So I spent the first 18 months at Nielsen properly learning the ropes. And it was a very steep learning curve for me. But that's how I got into it. And I stayed there for 5 years. And then I went to Kantar, kind of on and off for about 15 years. And then
Sure.
IGD for 5 years. And now I'm a lead client partner working at Mintel, kind of doing what you're doing. But just to clarify one thing, I wasn't holding out on you in Chicago. I couldn't get a word in edgeways, and I didn't want to spoil your fun. You were telling me these great stories, and I just thought, well, this is about Matt, right? And I'm sure my time will come. And we're not on a bridge in Chicago. Here I am on your podcast. So I was right.
Well, you turned the tables on me. I'm mighty impressed. That's good stuff. Excellent. Well, hey, it's great to have you at Mintel. I love working with you. We got this great vibe with this Skunk Works of a lead client partner team that we have. So nice to be in the trenches with you. So, all right. So you referenced your band, the Samurai Seven. Cool name. Um,
Mhm.
tell me about that. And it sounds like there's a little bit of groundswell. People want to hear your stuff again. So yeah, let's get into that side.
Sure. So yeah, I mean, look, I'd played in bands since I was 17 or 18, and I tried to start. Here's the thing: when I was at school, I tried to get lessons, but I wasn't good enough. So you went and tried, and I wasn't good enough to get lessons, which was really frustrating for me. But anyway, you kind of start playing, and I always remember the thing Dave Grohl says, which is when people say to him, "What should I do?" And you should get together with your friends and get in a garage and you just play and you're terrible, but you get better and better, and then you go into different
Sure.
bands, and that's how everybody starts, and I was no different. But um, I had a friend of mine who he left his band and I left my band, and we've got a picture of us taking shaking hands, going right, come on, let's go and take the world over. And we formed in the mid '90s, and we yeah, we kind of just practiced and did some demos and did some gigs. And then the thing that kind of was a real help for us was in the UK there was a very influential DJ called John Peel, who
Hmm.
was on Radio One, which is the kind of national station in the UK.
Yeah.
He's not around anymore, but he was a big champion of us, and he was a big champion of new music. So we ended up doing 5 sessions for him between '98 and 2002. We recorded in the same studio as the Beatles at BBC Maida Vale, and in the same studio where Bing Crosby did his last ever recording. So kind of walking through those doors and you see the plaque was it was a bit of a moment. I'd like to say I felt encouraged and motivated, but I actually thought, my God, right, I better not get this wrong. Basically, this is, I'm on hallowed turf here. So,
Yeah.
kind of one thing led to another, and we got a little deal. So we released a single in '98, and then that got us another single deal, and then we recorded a theme tune for a TV show, and it kind of went from there. And without kind of spoiling the vibe, sadly, just as we were about to do a bit of a nationwide tour, our singer was coming out of a pub, and there were kids kind of riding around in a car with an air gun, and they were shooting at random things, and they shot him and it went in his eye. So we had to literally,
Oh,
he nearly lost the sight in his eye. And we had to can everything that we had because otherwise he literally couldn't move. It was one of those had to sleep sitting up, all that kind of stuff. And
oh my
fortunately, he retained his
goodness.
sight. But that was the moment where we were going to kick on. But because of this kind of tragic kind of incident, we couldn't. So that happened, but we kind of came back 6 months later. We rewrote the set. We recorded the album. So that was 2002, which was released in Japan and in the UK. I think we did some release in the US. I can't quite remember. But we've certainly been on kind of compilations in the States
Mhm.
as well. We kind of went through till about 2004. Then I left because I had a family, as people do, and they carried on playing for a bit in a band called the Dirty Royals. They got a kind of new drummer in and went out to the States, went to the West Coast, spent quite a bit of time over there and kind of got it going, but just not quite. So then life takes over,
Sure.
right? And we're dormant for, I guess, the better part of 15 years. Then our bass player said, right, for my birthday, I've got some studio time and I think we should all get back together. And I think because we were friends before, right? So me and Jimmy,
Yeah.
we were friends from the age of 5, and Simon I'd known for 30 years. And, so we were friends before we were in a band. And that's the glue that keeps you together. And we
Sure.
got into the room and it was just like it was, 25 years ago. So yeah, we're back gigging and doing a bit of stuff, and we'll put a bit. We've got the album still on Spotify. You can get that, and we're probably going to put some more stuff on. But watch this space.
Nice.
So there you go. That's a truncated history, if you will.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. So, a couple things I want to unpack real quick. So, tell me a little bit about your influences. Maybe who we might compare your sound to.
From a band perspective, well, I think probably the best way of putting it is imagine the Beatles crossed with the Beach Boys, but played 5 times faster.
I
So we
like
have
that.
lots of 3-part harmonies and
Cool.
quite lots of kind of spiky guitars and yeah, kind of quick pop music with catchy lyrics and catchy hooks and melodies and choruses and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I love it. And wow, I can't even believe that story about the air gun. So
Yeah,
all of a
no,
sudden you've got all this momentum and then just you hit a wall.
stopped. Yeah, really
Um,
tough. But it's, I say these things happen. They don't really. Those sorts of things don't happen. But sometimes things come to derail you. But,
yeah,
we kind of came through it and got the album out. So it's, not the kind of journey we would have wished for or for poor Simon. But you deal with what you get.
yeah, yeah. Wow. Okay, so this is sort of an unusual background for getting into, let's say, the corporate world, right?
Mhm.
Um, Not so unusual in insights, which I found in talking to people. But what did you learn? I mean, how did that set you up being sort of a band guy, having, music as your primary focus, and all of a sudden then you get a job at Nielsen and you start in insights. Um, what did you learn from your band days that you've applied or maybe made you think differently about your career?
Yeah, it's a really great question, and as the drummer, so as we both know, the most important person in the group, right? By
Of
by a long
course.
way.
Yeah,
Everybody knows this, right? I don't need to kind of
you don't have to
point
be a
this out
drummer
to
to
you
know
too
that.
often. But one of the key things, and it stayed with me for a long time, but you've got to be easy to work with, right?
Yeah,
You've got to be easy to work with. So as a drummer, you kind of you're at the behest of whoever the songwriters are. And it's fine to have a point, and you should have a point, but you shouldn't have a point for the sake of it, right? It's got to be meaningful. And the bands that I've been in previously, where you either get along or you don't get along, it's because everybody wants to be the leader or they feel that they should have a say. And actually, any
right.
great band or any great business, you have to have a leader and you have to go with what the leader wants to do. And I recognized really early on that that wasn't me in the band. I wasn't going to be the MD of the band, and I was fine with that because I wasn't doing the songwriting.
Sure.
But the part I played was absolutely critical. So in order to make sure you have harmony and you're as good as you can be, you've got to be brilliant at the basics. So the thing that you apply to business, and I say this to my daughters who are kind of just about to enter work or will do so soon, turn up on time, look the part, smile, make sure you're fully prepped. So you're either rehearsed or you're turning up to a meeting and you know all you can know before you walk through the door, and just be easy to work with. And you can achieve amazing things just by doing that. And it really,
Yeah.
that's something that's stuck with me no matter what I'm doing, whether it be business or band or pleasure, that thing about being easy to get along with. And if you've got a point, you should make it, but you don't have to have a point about everything. So you should be kind of measured and considered and think, is this actually adding to the pot or is this just adding noise into the pot? And that's something that really stuck with me. And I've had a couple of clients say to me, we like working with you because your insight and data is good, but we like working with you because it's easy. And whereas, you get agencies
Sure.
or other businesses that aren't so easy to get on with, and it matters. So I guess those would be the key points I would suggest.
Yeah, yeah, I like that. I like that for sure. Um, so we're in this, crazy period in insights, or everything's being upended by AI and everything else, right? Not just insights, but everything. So, and you've got this, long career working with really a lot of blue chip companies in this space. Curious to know, as you kind of stand back and survey the landscape, what does the future look like to you?
Mm. So I think I know where it's not going. So I think where we've been and where we're moving forward from an AI perspective, is when I was first having conversations about AI, which was 2 or 3 years ago, it was about saving money and cost cutting and efficiency. And I'm sure there are businesses that are doing that, but it's a journey. And now the conversations I'm having is how do we utilize AI to make us money? So as an example, one of the earliest examples I remember is I think Swiss retailer called Migros, who utilizing using AI built and made an energy drink from design to can size to logo to flavor to product within about 3 days, right? And if you think
Right.
of how long that takes, if you're a big CPG player, that process, because of all the kind of gateways you've got to go through, could be anything from 6 months to 18 months.
Yeah,
That's dead. If it's not dead, it's dying. And in 5 years' time, I can't believe that will, probably 3 years' time, I can't believe those timescales will be acceptable to anybody. So I think there's a whole raft of positive stuff um, coming from AI, and I think that's the kind of trend. So how do we utilize it to be more efficient, but to make more revenue, more shareholder gain, and all that kind of stuff.
sure. Yeah, yeah, for sure. And it's not just it's also about idea generation, right? Not just like you said, not just, hey, we're going to do this faster, we're going to do it more efficient, but there's promise now that the ideas that come out of AI's ability to process, so much data very quickly, could potentially be better than human ideas, and that's part of the whole idea of making money, right?
Mm. It is, and I think I read this. I can't remember who said it or where I read it, but it's not mine. But the chat on AI was, good data, good AI, bad data, hallucinations. So I think we probably both will have utilized AI, and you get this beautiful looking kind of answer that's actually a load of nonsense.
Yeah,
So that will develop for sure as well. And I
yeah,
guess in our industry, from a research perspective, it's still my sense is that grunt work of standard reports feels like that could be in a difficult place in the next 3 to 5 years. So therefore, businesses will need to evolve because it's far, getting products to shelf and selling products today feels difficult for AI to take those kind of research roles and capabilities because there's so much, because it's to do with humans, we're not rational and logical, and you can't rationalize
right.
decisions that aren't rational, if that makes sense. So I
Yeah,
see a massive role for people like you and me and people coming into the industry. And if people said to me, "Do you think I should come in the industry, given what's going on with AI?" I would say yes, because like I say, it people are not logical nor rational, they are emotional, and I don't I feel that's something that only human to human can do right now. I don't know how long that'll go on for, but
sure.
I still feel that we're people like you and I and people full stop in research businesses are going to be critical to help brands now and ongoing.
Yeah, yeah, for sure, for sure. Cool. Cool. All right, Chris. So I know that you have a pretty demanding job that takes a lot of your time. I know that because I have the same job, right? Um, so with the limited time that you have available, I'm interested to know what media is winning your time, either for insight, inspiration, or enjoyment? What kind of media are you consuming these days?
So probably easier to tell you where I'm not going. So I don't cope well with Twitter or X as it's now known. I find it exhausting to
Yeah.
read. I don't know. People who say to me, they're on X and they post. I don't know how they find the time. It's just, frankly, it's quite exhausting. So I wouldn't use that one. From a business perspective, I think. The kind of, I suppose, the mainstream outlets that we're all going to be familiar with. So be that something like The Spectator in the UK, be that something like LinkedIn, that kind of tells me quite a lot. I mean, again, on LinkedIn, there's a lot of stuff you need to wade through, but there's quite a good bit of stuff in there. I quite enjoy seeing the TED Talks that are around. I'm not a massive new media person. I'm probably a late adopter
Mhm.
um, because that's how I work. I'm not anti stuff. It's just I kind of, you know, Shocker's middle-aged man knows what he likes and doesn't stray too far, right? But I have a go. So the kind of usual outlets I would suggest.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. I do too. Still Wall Street Journal, New York Times. I pay for those subscriptions. I will for a long time. Just have trouble replacing those. I can't like
Mm.
take those big meaty sources and replace them with like 50 different small pieces, right? It's
Mm.
hard for me to do. So cool, cool. All right. So here's the question, Chris. This is my favorite question to ask. I know a little bit about the style of your band, but we haven't
Mm.
really talked music so much. So
Mm.
I'm really interested to know what you're going to say. So let's say you're stranded on a desert island, right? You have three albums of your choosing to keep you company for the rest of your days. What are they, Chris?
Mm. Okay, so I hope you got enough tape, metaphorical tape in the machine for this, right? So an impossible question. So, but you've caught me on a moment. So I have to go with what I've thought. So there's one album that I would say would be consistent if you asked me 5 years ago or in 5 years' time, and I'll start with that one. And it's an album called Strength by a band called The Alarm. So The Alarm
Yeah,
had a bit of success in the
yeah.
US. I think Sold Me Down the River was their kind of big Billboard hit. I think that got to about number 30 or something. So not huge, but kind of enough. They were well known in the States and they have quite a cult following both here and in the UK. And the reason for that is because it was the first concert I ever saw was Queen live at Wembley, July 1986, and they were supported, amongst others, by In Excess
Oh,
and The Alarm. And I'd never heard of these bands. My dad he really wanted to go, and I tagged along. And I remember seeing on at Wembley Stadium and The Alarm played, and I just thought that's what I want to do. That's my kind of childhood. I was 11, 12 years old. That's what I want to do. There it is. So I went out the next day and I got it on LP and I played it and I played it and I played it. And that was it. I was an Alarm fan. And that was the kind of my band or one of my bands. And I was lucky enough. So Mike Peters, who sadly passed away very, very recently, played in a band with Billy Duffy from the Cult um, called Colour Sound, and we supported them in 1998. And it was, you have that thing of never meet your heroes. Well, I did, and it was amazing. It was everything I wanted it to be. So he couldn't have talked to me for long enough. He signed my poster. He was on the edge of the stage watching me and watching the band as we played. It was one of those kind of
oh,
key moments
cool.
in life for me. So that has always genuinely stuck with me. So that would be my first choice of album.
Very cool. Okay.
So and this is in no real order. In fact, I'll go with it in order because I'm kind of secure in myself. So I'm not bothered about whether I look cool or not, but I might as well, if I've got it in the offing, I might as well go with it. So my second album would be Inner Visions by Stevie Wonder.
Yeah, yes, yes.
That would
True
be my
classic.
second album. And yeah, and it was at that point where he'd he'd moved away from little Stevie Wonder
Mhm.
and he played every instrument on the album. And if you listen to Higher Ground or Living for This City, and he also did Don't You Worry About a Thing, which was covered by a band called Incognito, which I didn't know until years after they'd done it in 1990. Amazing songs, just
Yeah.
amazing songs. And for me, it was better than songs in the key of life because he hadn't got his big deal then. So it still felt a bit more raw. I know we're probably getting into kind of muso territory, right?
It's
And
okay. It's okay.
this is the 8 minute bass. If you're watching in
This
board,
is the
this is the
place to
eight
do
minute
that.
bass solo part, right? But this is, for me, it was a lot. It was, I don't know, it just had a bit more edge. And I still revere anyone that can play more than one instrument. And when you think he did the whole thing and he sang it and giving the challenges that he had, it's just a great album. And I was lucky enough to see him in Hyde Park a couple of weeks ago. We got 6 rows from the front and
Wow.
he was still amazing. His voice still holds. I don't know what it is, 70, 75, something like that. And it was, yeah. So you've caught me in a Stevie frame of mind at the moment. So that would be my second
Yeah, good
choice.
choice. Good choice.
And then my third choice would be from kind of sublime to the ridiculous. But I'm quite serious when I say this. It would be "Make It Big" by Wham as my third choice.
Really
So
interesting.
yeah, it would because I love pop music
Yeah.
and you remember what you grow up with, right? So I could have
Sure.
had In the City by the Jam. So the Jam, I don't think they translated into the US really at all, but they were a very kind of mod band with really short, sharp drumming that really influenced me. But
Hmm.
Make It Big by Wham was just in 1984, where the summers were long and you're kind of a kid and you're hearing things. And I just remember all these great pop songs that were 3 minutes 30 and they were so polished and they seemed so aspirational.
Yeah.
And they also on that album was a cover of an Isley Brothers track called If You Were There,
Okay.
which I hadn't realized was a cover at the time, but I don't even think it made it as a B-side, but it was an album track and it was just great. And I probably, you had Careless Whisper on there as one of them, and Freedom as well, all
Hmm.
brilliant pop music tracks in their own right, but it's what you grow up with, and I've kind of never forgotten how good that album was, how talented George Michael was, and it just
Sure.
takes me back to
Yeah.
those times of when you were a child. So they would be it's a bit throwaway, but it's what sticks with you, I guess. So interesting that two albums are from kind of when I was growing up. And then you've got a classic in there as well. So I don't know what that says about me. I'm sure you can tell me more than without wanting to over intellectualizing pop music. But those would be my three. Those would be my three albums, I guess.
I love it. I love it. I do have to say, as we're taping this here today, this is the day after the announcement of the passing of the Prince of Darkness himself, Ozzy Osbourne. So I have to say, rest in peace to Ozzy Osbourne, who went out with a bang with the final concert, which was really very cool. So I want to say something about that. Also want to remind folks, if you're interested in trying the Magic Mind, give it a go. It's good stuff. Go to magicmind.com/RNRLT. Get a nice discount on that. And Chris, I'm so glad we had this forum to sit down and chat about some of this stuff, learn some more. Of course, we've got to get deep into drums. We'll save that for off tape, as we get really
What do you
esoteric.
mean off tape? This has got to be the most exciting part, really. This is what your viewers want. Want a 15-minute dissection of symbol types and all that kind of stuff. Surely, sure. This is what you said to me. What were you taking it away from me for?
That's right. Well, oftentimes, this I have guests on and we don't talk for a long time. So I sign off by saying, hey, let's get together sometime, blah, blah, blah. But hey, I'll talk to you in like 15 minutes in our next meeting. So all right, Chris. Thanks so much. I really appreciate it. Rock and roll.
Rock and roll, brother.